So this is the chapter on GDP, gross domestic product, measuring production and income. In microeconomics, we study the choices of firms and households. In macroeconomics, we study the economy as a whole, inflation, GDP, unemployment, and growth. One of the first things to think about is business cycles. These are alternating periods of economic expansion and recession. So, on the business cycles, on the way up, we're in the period of expansion. On the way down, we're in a period of recession. The bottom of a recession is the trough. That's when we turn around and start going back up. The peak of expansion is the point at which we reach the peak and then we turn back down. Economic expansion. It is defined as total production and employment are increasing. So GDP and employment rate are increasing at the same time. If we are in a period of recession, total production and employment are decreasing. So gross domestic product is shrinking and unemployment is increasing, or employment is decreasing. Gross domestic product is the market value of all final goods or services produced in a country in a given time period, typically 1 year. What's included? So what's included in gross domestic product? The final goods and services produced in an economy, government purchases, this is on new items or services, right? Net exports, that's imports minus exports, investment in factories, buildings, and new homes. What's not included? Transfer payments, this means welfare, WIC, SNAP, Social Security, Medicare. We are transferring money, but we are not receiving a new good or service for that money. Sale of used goods. So if I go on Craigslist and I buy a couch, not included. If I buy a used car, not included. We included that car in GDP when we made the car and sold it initially. Intermediary goods. This is in between. So if I buy cotton from someone and then I make the t-shirt, only the final sale of the t-shirt is counted in GDP, not the cotton purchase. So this is the equation for GDP. Y stands for GDP. Y equals consumption plus investment plus government purchase plus net exports. This is how we decide the value of the economy. What is consumption? C stands for consumption, which is spending by households on final goods and services, excluding new homes. So this is the manicure you get, the spa you go to, the vacation you go on, the tax accountant that you pay. This is also all your groceries that you buy, new car purchases, new furniture, cable TV. All of these things, new, are included, except for new homes. That's included in investment. Investment. This is spending by firms on new buildings and equipment, as well as households on new homes. So this is investment. Firms usually buy a new building, they buy new machinery, they make investments. Government purchases. This is spending by the government on new goods or services. Does not include transfer payments, welfare, SNAP, Social Security, Medicare. It does include the teacher's salaries because they teach, the IRS agents because they work a service job. It does include spending on military purchases. So if we buy a ship, a plane, ammunition, new guns, all of that counts, but it does not count for all the transfer payments or payments on debt. Net exports. This is exports minus imports. Currently, net exports as a number is a negative number to GDP because we import more than we export. We export wheat, we export timber, but we import, think of everything that you buy. It usually has a made in China symbol on it, or made in Indonesia, or Malaysia. So we import as a whole, as a country, more than we export. Negative number for us. Real GDP is adjusted for inflation. So we'll talk about inflation in class, but it's the rising cost of prices. So obviously, GDP today in 2012 or 2013 is going to be much higher than GDP in 1960. Some of that might be equated to the fact that our economy is bigger, so that would be represented in real GDP, but some of it is represented by the fact that things just cost more. So therefore, we must adjust GDP for inflation. Nominal GDP is evaluated at current year prices. The other thing that we can measure is gross national product. Gross domestic product is anything that we produce inside the United States. Gross national product includes production by U.S. residents, even if the production occurs outside the U.S. So most countries measure the nation and how they're doing by GDP, but GNP includes people that are working outside the United States producing stuff, even if they're a U.S. resident, but they don't live here or produce inside the United States. And this is an overall view of gross domestic product and measuring production and income.